Hey guys, Jeremy Jones here. Wanted to just kind of confess something here with you if you're watching this video. I've had my YouTube channel for a little while and I've never really committed to doing videos consistently. And I've had these frequently asked questions that come up with our clients that I think would be really, really valuable for a lot of other people. And so I wanted to share them with you here and commit to you as a viewer and hopefully a subscriber. I encourage you to subscribe. Basically, we're going to be covering three primary areas in this channel. The first one is lead generation for coaches, consultants, speakers, and experts. Number two is lead conversion, sales scripts, sales strategies, lead conversion. And the third one is related to group coaching, information products, and getting a book published to be an authority and an expert. That's really my specialty. I run a book publishing company. We're the top rated book publisher in the state of Arizona. We've published over 100 books, and many of our first time author clients have this question right here that you see on the screen. And so I wanted to cover that with you. If you've thought about writing a book, you really have the desire, you want to write a book in this next season of your career or your business, this will be very, very helpful for you. We're just going to cover this at a high level, but I want to share some really, really important information with you related to publishing a book. You want to have it structured and outlined properly before you get to the writing. So I want to cover that with you here today. So the very first thing that you have to consider when you're looking at outlining and structuring your book is the purpose. So when we work with our clients, we look at the purpose of the book is from basically two sides. Number one is the purpose for you as the expert, the author. So what do I mean by that? Well, most of our ideal clients come to us for a couple of different reasons, but I'll just cover the basics with you here, and we'll look at two sides of it. Number one is the book is to share a message that's really important to you. Your story, your background, but it also maybe ties into your business and what you do. So we call that contribution. The next very good reason to write a book is to get speaking engagements, which get you in front of new audiences and get your message out there, to promote your book, but also promote your business, but also serving as a credibility and authority building tool. So you want to look at what is that primary purpose for you. One purpose, one mission, the most important thing, what is that for you? And I'd love to hear about what that is for you. Drop it in the comments below. I'm interested to hear about what that purpose is for you. So the other side of the purpose is, what is the purpose for the reader? So when the reader is going through your book, what's that ultimate message that you want to give to them? What's the thing they should get? With fiction books, it's entertainment. People want to have their mind captivated and go into entertainment. For nonfiction, which is our specialty, really what you want to focus on is that core message, the thing that you want to contribute to your reader or your ideal client. What's that main thing? So you want to keep that in mind as you go through. The next section that we're going to talk about here is the structure. So the first way you want to look at this is similar to when I'm coaching with clients through this and getting their book properly set up. When we look at structure, we think of it like the way that they do a sculpture, an art sculpture, right? So whenever a sculpture is created, they don't just take a big giant blob of clay and set it down and then just start molding it, right? First you sketch out overall what am I going to do here. Based on that, how the sculpture is. So let's say it's a person that's bending back like this, right? The weight of the back and the head need to be supported by steel rods and things like that. If it's a big statue or a big structure, the bigger the statue, the bigger it's stronger the support needs to be, so that the structure doesn't fall over. So when we look at book structure, we want to look at the skeleton or those steel rods in that first. What's the overall core? It goes back to the purpose and the message of the book. That's your main structure. The next structure pieces is the other elements of that, where a lot of times you'll see with big statues so they don't end up being too heavy is like a wireframe. And what the wireframe is the overall structure of your book. So we look at typically, in most cases, about 10 chapters. What are the 10 basically the 10 topics that you want to cover with your ideal reader, and how does it serve that purpose that you want it to serve for your book? So you really want to look at big picture first. What are those overall 10 chapters and 10 pieces that you want to cover that contribute to your purpose for the book, for you and for the reader? And then you look at each chapter, the structure for each chapter. And that's what I want to cover next is chapter elements. So each chapter should have an introduction. It should have a main body, of which you're educating them about, and then a conclusion. Okay? So in that, you want to look at what are the people that you're going to mention, what are the data points that you want to cover, and you do that all in your outline and in your structuring situation. When we're working with our clients, we actually have a template that they go through where look how to structure the overall book properly, how to structure each chapter properly. But the basics are what I'm sharing with you here today. So when you look at the chapter structure, you want to think of what are those core elements that you want in each chapter. What are the main points that you need to cover in each chapter? Where can you bring credibility to yourself? So a real quick example on that is if you want to be a professional speaker and speak more, in your book you should mention something about a talk that you went and did, or that you spoke, or that you have a desire to speak. And what that does is that positions and frames you as a speaker. It's integrated into the book. So that'll give you one example. We do a lot of different things like that to integrate the purpose into the book, but that's just one example because we do work with a lot of speakers. The next section here is chapter transition. So what we do here typically is what I recommend for you is you first outline and structure your book first. Then when you're going to write, you write chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. You do a first initial draft. Then you go back and you write your introduction. And you integrate your introduction in at this point because now you have a feel for where all of this book is going, even though you have generally sculpted out the content of your book. Now that you have that, you work on your conclusion, kind of a summary of what this is all about. Then what I encourage all of our author clients to do is to create what you see there is a chapter transition. And what that is let's say chapter 2, you're talking about X topic. And there's a nice transition into, Y topic, which is chapter 3. But the reader doesn't know that. They don't know that there's a transition. So try to think of an example here, but it would be something like chapter 2 is all about, let's say it's a book about flying an airplane, right? Let's say you're a pilot, you're a speaker, and you're talking about flying an airplane. Well, when you're talking about lift, let's say in chapter 2, you would mention something about what's in the next chapter at the end of the first chapter, and it helps create a really nice transition. Another example would be as if you're a professional speaker and you coach people on speaking. Chapter 2 would be something about setting the audience at ease, as an example. The next chapter would be building a connection with your audience. So in chapter 2, at the end of that chapter, you would want to touch on something related to building a connection with your audience. So when you properly structure out a chapter and you see that and you know what's coming next, you can integrate those things are. So what's the alternative to this? What I see a lot of people do when they don't have a structure like this is they think of an idea, they get really excited about it, they just start pounding away at the keyboard, they get really excited about it, they're just typing and typing and typing, and where it gets frustrating is you got this big long document of text, and then you realize chapter 5, wait a minute, this should actually be something that the reader should know beforehand. So you take chapter 5 and you move it to chapter 2, let's say, and now chapter 2 has to go somewhere. And you think, well, it doesn't really fit right after, so we have to move it further along. Now, things that you've mentioned in chapter 5 that are now chapter 2, sometimes are out of place. So it's going to completely eliminate a lot of that back and forth, self-editing, restructuring, and that is very, very time consuming. So the way that you reduce your editing cost, like to have an editor go and do that is very expensive. So the way you reduce your editing cost and kind of prepare your book for a professional editor is that you work on your structure first. going back to the sculpture example, it would be like you sculpt, an elephant with a guy on top, and then you realize this thing is just too heavy. So you go to a contractor and you say, hey, look, here's what I need you to do. I need a structure, a steel structure inside this elephant. Dig out all the insides of this elephant and put in the wireframe on the inside. Well, that's a very complicated process, and how are you going to maintain the sculpting you've already done when you're changing the inside? So I know they don't exactly relate, but I think you get the point. It's a much more enjoyable process. It's a much more creative process, and really fun and enjoyable to be able to do this process right. And that's why I recommend starting with that structure first. So hopefully this was helpful for you. That's what I cover with many of our clients in how to properly structure a nonfiction book. So hopefully this was helpful for you. I recently created a tool and a resource, which is a 7-minute book outline template. It'll help you to take just a few minutes and outline the structure of your book. It's a downloadable resource that you can use to structure your next book. I want to give that to you absolutely free. You can also get more resources on authoritycoach.com. I really want to build up this channel, so in order to get that download, I will put that in the comments in a pinned post for free for you. All you need to do is just subscribe and hit the like button on this video. As soon as this video gets, let's just say, 10 likes, because I know I'm just starting out here on this video. As soon as it gets 10 likes, I'll put it in the comments below and I'll pin it to the comments. So if you come here and it's more than 10 likes at that point, you'll have access to it right away. If you don't see that it's pinned in the comments yet, drop me a comment, say hello, let me know you've subscribed, and then as soon as we get 10 likes on this video, I'll drop it in the comments so that you have it, and hopefully it's helpful for you. Thanks so much for watching. Look forward to connecting with you, and we'll see you in the next video.